12-year-old Mason Rivera wasn't special in the way people think. He didn't have money, he didn't have straight A's, he didn't even have many friends, but he had something most people lost as they grew older, a heart that still paid attention. Every morning before school, Mason walked across the old Riverside Bridge, a cracked, rusty landmark the adults complained about, but never repaired. Cars rushed past, horns echoing through the metal rails. But Mason always walked, and one morning, he saw something strange. A pair of shoes sticking out from beneath the bridge. Not clean shoes, not new shoes, shoes that had walked through too many nights. Mason froze. He wasn't sure what he was seeing. Was someone hurt? Was someone sleeping? Was he supposed to do something? Kids are often braver than adults, but they're also more cautious in the ways that matter. So Mason took a small step closer, and then another, and that's when he saw the man. A homeless stranger, wrapped in a torn jacket, beard tangled, hands resting over his chest like he was guarding something important. Mason's breath caught. He didn't know whether to run, or speak, or pretend he didn't see anything. But then, the man's eyes opened, and Mason realized something unexpected. They were kind, sad, tired, but kind. The man didn't say a word. He simply nodded, as if to reassure Mason that he meant no harm. And something inside Mason stirred. Something small, but powerful. Kindness often starts that way. So Mason reached into his backpack and pulled out the only thing he had that morning. A leftover peanut butter sandwich from yesterday. He placed it beside the man and walked away without waiting for thanks. The next day, something unbelievable happened. As Mason approached the bridge again, he found something sitting on the rail. A small wooden carving, a tiny bird delicately shaped, wings outstretched, glowing faintly in the morning sun. It was beautiful, too beautiful to be abandoned. And carved on the bottom were two words, "Thank you." Mason looked under the bridge and saw the man sitting upright this time. His eyes met Mason's, and he smiled. Not a normal smile, a grateful one. The kind that makes your chest warm, even if the air is freezing. Mason didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He simply nodded back. A silent agreement that kindness didn't need permission. But the story does not end there. Not even close. Days passed, then weeks. Every morning, Mason brought something small, a granola bar, a bottle of water, an apple, a warm pair of gloves he bought with saved allowance. And every day the man repaid him in the only way he could. With small carvings he shaped from broken sticks beneath the bridge. A tiny wolf, a little house, a boat. Each one carved with careful hands. Hands that clearly once knew better days. Mason kept every single one. But there was something Mason didn't know. Something the whole town didn't know. The stranger wasn't just any homeless man. He had a name, a story, a past, and a wound deeper than anyone could see. One night, a violent storm swept across the town. Thunder cracked like splitting wood. Rain slapped the ground in furious waves, and lightning flashed enough to turn night into momentary daylight. Mason couldn't sleep, because that night, the bridge flooded, and the stranger lived under it. Fear tightened Mason's chest like a fist. What if the man drowned? What if he was cold? What if this was the night he simply disappeared from the world, just like many people thought he already had? Mason tried to tell his mother, but she was asleep. He tried to tell his older brother, but he laughed it off. So Mason made a choice, a dangerous one, a brave one. He grabbed a flashlight, pulled on his jacket, and ran out into the storm alone. The Riverside Bridge had never looked so frightening. Floodwater rushed beneath it, roaring like a beast breaking free. Wind nearly shoved Mason off the sidewalk. Streetlights flickered, buzzing like dying fireflies. But Mason kept going. He had to, because some people walk past strangers their entire lives, and some choose to stop. When Mason reached the bridge, he saw it. A faint light, a candle flame struggling against the wind, and beneath the bridge, the stranger, shivering, soaked, too weak to stand. Mason jumped down the embankment, nearly slipping into the water, but he held onto the concrete rail with one hand and reached the man. "Mister!" he shouted through the rain. "Please get up! The water's rising!" The man didn't respond. His eyes were half closed, his breathing slow. He wasn't just cold, he was in danger, real danger. Mason did the only thing he could. He wrapped the man's arm around his shoulders and tried to lift him. The man was heavier than he looked, and Mason was only 12. But he pulled anyway. He strained. He dug his heels into the muddy ground. He ignored the sharp pain in his back. Kindness isn't always easy. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it requires everything you've got. Lightning flashed, bright, violent, terrifying. And in that split second, Mason saw something he would remember forever. The wooden carvings, every single one, floating in the floodwater, drifting away. The man had tried to save them. He had kept them close, because Mason's kindness meant something, more than he could say. With one final cry, Mason dragged the man high enough up the embankment that the water couldn't reach him. And that's when headlights appeared. His mother's car. She had woken up, found Mason missing, and panicked. She followed the storm and found her son in the mud, crying, exhausted, holding a stranger. She didn't ask questions. She didn't shout. She simply helped. Because sometimes adults forget compassion, but they never forget their children. The stranger was taken to the hospital. The doctor said he was badly dehydrated, underfed, and almost hypothermic, but he survived. And when he woke up, he asked for one thing: Mason. In the hospital room, the stranger finally told his story. His name was Elias Turner, once a craftsman, once a husband, once a father, until tragedy took his family, and he broke. Lost his job, lost his home, lost hope. He didn't want help. He didn't think he deserved help, until a boy, a quiet boy with warm eyes, reminded him he was still human. Mason didn't say much. He didn't know what to say, but Elias took Mason's hand and whispered the most important words he had left. "You saved me, because you saw me." Months later, Elias had a room in a shelter, a job repairing wooden furniture, and a community that knew his name. All because of a child who saw a man under a bridge. Not a problem. And every time Mason visited him, Elias gave him something new. A wooden carving, handmade, detailed, beautiful. Not payment, not debt, just gratitude. Just kindness returned. So if you ever walk past someone forgotten, someone the world stopped noticing, remember this. It takes one moment of kindness to change a life. One small gift to restore hope. One brave step to save someone drowning in silence. Mason didn't become a hero because he was strong. He became a hero because he cared. And kindness, real kindness, always finds its way back home.